Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Is it Friday? And welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa again. And welcome to beautiful Joanne from Australia. And apologies for the time delay. This has been such a crazy week when it's come to stuff like this, I have to tell you. But usually Joanne and I are actually on an hour later. I usually have the Aussies on at 11 GMT +2, but because you're in Western Australia, which is only a 6-hour difference, I usually have you an hour later. And of course, I, without thinking, put you on at 11 instead of 12. So apologies, everybody, to keep you waiting, but I'm happy to see you all here. And it's been such a crazy week because for those of you who watched, I did a Spooky 2 interview with a guy called Dr. Bill McGraw. I do believe it was Tuesday. And lo and behold, they struck the show. And when they strike the show, you get 3 strikes usually. The last time they didn't care. They just struck my whole channel. So they struck the show because of medical misinformation. And what he was doing was talking about the Spooky 2 machines, which of course we know are absolutely phenomenal. And if anything should tell us we're on the right track, it's that when we come to frequency medicine and stuff like that. So I thought they actually struck both the channels, because I was streaming through both Solutions and Aquarius Rising Africa. But as it turns out, they actually only struck Solutions, which means I can't upload or record or do anything for 7 days. So I thought both the channels were struck. So I was in quite a chaotic time this week trying to figure out Facebook and X, because you can still stream through Facebook and X or Twitter. So I want to say to you guys, please, if you haven't liked my Aquarius Rising Africa Facebook page yet, please go and do so, as well as Twitter, X, Aquarius Rising on Twitter. Please go and like those pages, or just subscribe or follow, do whatever you need to do, because if ever anything happens here, we will be going there as well. You know, it's such a tumultuous time right now. And also, if you want to, maybe I'm doing a show with Catherine Edwards at 3:30 my time this afternoon, where we're going to talk about how we're being silenced right now again. You know, there's a big thing on just silencing us. And I say, screw you all. We will not be silenced. We will not shut our voices down. We will continue. And if it means we take the shows off YouTube and we put them elsewhere, then so be it. That might be an option for the future as well, because YouTube is forever threatening us and striking and just being very Nazi-ish. Anyway, welcome everybody. I just wanted to fill you in on that. And also, by the way, for those of you, I've been getting a lot of questions and backlash, if you will, about Caleb. Caleb has not been well. He's actually had to go to hospital. Not that he was in hospital, but he's had a bad kidney and bladder infection, so he had to go to the emergency room. He's been on very heavy antibiotics, and I'm telling you this with his permission, because and I want to again just say to you guys, please, I will put up the weekly schedule, and I obviously do have the usual suspects on there on the shows, right? But I have asked, and I've mentioned several times that, you know, with Caleb's shows, because his health is, he's under a lot of spiritual attack, speaking about the stuff he does. So his health is up and down. Right. So I then have said his shows can get cancelled at short notice, which has happened more recently in the past, in the more recent past, definitely. And even if it is on the weekly schedule, if I don't promo the show, in other words, if I don't put an advert up on YouTube or whatever, doing a promo, then it means the show is not on. So please just bear that in mind, and please just work with that, because it's very difficult for me to let everyone know at that time. I'm alone on the channel right now. I have been for a while. I'm still figuring my way around things. So just be patient, please, and no shitty emails because of things like this. I don't like that. And I do the best I can with what I have. And that's why I keep saying, if these shows, yeah, well, he's in, yeah, here he is now. He's actually had some good sleep. So Caleb, that's a really, really good one. And he's coming back. But just, you know, when these things happen, please just bear in mind that we, you know, there are times where if the show has not been promoted, it means that whether it's Caleb or anyone else, sometimes Jesse also has been sick at short notice, you know, sometimes Bryce has been sick at short notice or stuff like that. Then I don't promo the show or I take it down, which means then that the show is not on. Okay, I just wanted to say that, guys, and hopefully Caleb will be back on Sunday. He, as I said, he's not been well, and I respect everyone who I will always say, put your health first. As long as you're not healthy, nothing else is healthy. So there's my lecture or my rant, whatever you want to call it. Hello, Joanne. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing okay, thank you. Yes, definitely, Caleb, you in our prayers too. Well, it's been a very, very busy couple of weeks for us here at Home Farm. We've taken in some more kangaroos, and we've got one that lives on our front lawn at the moment, who came from suburbia and was attacked by a dog. So he's healing quite nicely. So every morning I get up and there he is. We called him Scion because it means gentle, because he's very gentle. So he's there morning, noon and night and just wanders around under the fruit trees and eats all our grass down and getting well. All his injuries are starting to heal nicely. And we're hoping to integrate him with the big wild mob that comes onto our property.
How old is he? The new one. Scion. Is his name Scion?
Scion, yes. He's about 3. He's quite large.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how come you got him? How did you manage to get him? What's the story with him?
Well, the story with him was we got a phone call saying that there was a big male, which he is, in suburbia. So he was living in suburbia. There was only like a corridor of native trees and grass and things like that he was living on. That he would have been kicked out of his original mob because he gets to a certain age, and then of course he's kicked out because they cannot have them stay in that mob, being the genes would be going back into their own genes. So that doesn't happen. They get kicked out. And mostly the boys will gather together at that time, all the ones that have been kicked out of mobs, and then slowly integrate into other mobs. But sadly, some of them don't, and they go off on their own, and they go into suburbia and try and live there. And of course, they're on those roads and the hot concrete, and a lot of people have fake grass nowadays, and there's not the feed in there, and of course, there's a lot of dogs. So this is where this poor one found himself after being kicked out of his mob at the right age. He got stuck into this area in suburbia. So we were asked to go and get him, to remove him, and he was, as I said, and with injuries because one of the dogs had attacked him. And he was brought out here for treatment and just to recuperate, and we can't release him back where we found him because it'll just start all over again, the same process. So that's why we are now working on integrating him into the big mob that comes through our properties along this corridor, and he will be able to integrate and have a new mob once he's all ready and happy to leave us. But until then, he's our, as I keep saying, my lawn ornament, because he just lays back and lays his arms up and around and kicks his legs in the air, and he's He's adorable. He really is. They all are. He's just, and then he's got,
That is so cute. Oh my
it
goodness.
is. And Tony, Tony also takes out like handfuls of hay and hand feeds him, because you can walk up to him, because he's not a stranger to people or cars or other animals. And even though we've got a couple of dogs, they've got this natural boundary that neither of them, the dogs nor Scion, will go past that boundary with each other. So there's a mutual respect there. And if they do get a little bit too close, not thinking, Scion will just sort of hiss at them, and that's enough for them to, oops, I've gone past that point, and come back again. So we can see in the animal world how they communicate and how they set their boundaries, and they're adhered to, and they can all live together. It's a beautiful process to watch. Even the cat, one of ours, goes up to this Scion. It's only been here now 4 weeks, and rubs noses with him. You know, it's like, it's incredible, the animal kingdom. It really is. And also we also got another little one in, but she was so tiny. She only just had her legs and her little hands and that. Her ears were still pinned back. They're what we call a pinky, no fur, and her eyes were still closed. And her mother was killed by a car, and it was a head-on collision, so the mother died instantly. And we had her in care here from a Thursday till early hours Monday, just gone. She lived for 4 days. She fought her fight. That's why, I mean, it's been really great that I've had some days and, you know, to get over the grief, because we did lose her. She decided it was too much. Our saying over here is the first 24 hours are critical. She may give up. And from that moment onwards, it's every hour, every single day, and then every week and every month. That's how you go. You never say it's okay. It's never going to be fine, or yet we're over the hurdle. But it doesn't diminish the grief and love you feel for these little precious animals. And it's been really great that I've had that time to process it, because it really hit us all hard, all of us that's in a WARE organisation that look after these ones. But
absolutely, I can believe that. You know, it's wow. It's like, I know when you lose a little animal like that, especially under those tragic circumstances, you know, it really hits hard. Well,
it
I
is.
think maybe she just came to feel the human love from you before she moved on. You know, her spirit is free, and I've no doubt that you know, still that human. I think, you know, what I realize so much with animals, having worked with animals, especially the big cats. I love working with the big cats here, you know, in the rehabilitation centers and stuff. Many of them, and especially the fox, the jackal, right? And I mean, they're the most hunted and hated creatures by the farmers. And the more I try and tell the farmers that's not how you deal, they're not a pest. You've got to deal with them differently. There's ways you use like the bigger animals in there, and that kind of, there's a whole way of processing these things. And every now and again you get like a little baby animal like that. And they don't live for long, but they're really just here to feel the human love. And it's almost like that's what they've come for, is just to experience, because most humans are so cruel when it comes to animals. I'm sorry, they are, you know. And especially, you know, we tend to have this kill culture. If I don't understand it, or if I'm scared of it, I'll just kill it. You know, poor snakes especially as well, right? So anyway, I'm very glad that she felt your love, and that she spent some time with you and your family, and that she's really gone back to her creator, right?
She certainly has, yes. And I was actually watching something on talking about the relationship with these animals. I was watching something, they were growing rice and other fruits, big, I think palms, and they tried to keep the monkeys out. I can't remember what country it was, but it really shocked me. Not shocked me, but really touched me when there was so many stray dogs, and one particular dog watched the farmers putting in these crops and then trying to keep the monkeys off the crops and out of the trees where the fruits were. And this dog worked out if it ran through and scared the monkeys off to save the fruit and help them out, the farmer, after a while, because he watched what was happening and realised what was happening, then took the dog in and fed the dog. And it was a win-win situation. They were working together to keep those monkeys from those precious crops that without them, the farmer and his family wouldn't eat. But the dynamics of that dog and taking it from the dog's perspective was, it is incredible. That
Wow.
dog worked it out, and the monkey still had feed otherwise, but this was easier. So it's all been so fascinating, these animals.
Yeah, they are amazing. They are absolutely amazing. They're incredible how they work together, actually. One of my favorite things to do when I'm want to just be brain dead and not think about anything and just switch off from the world, I'll watch animal videos, the YouTube animal videos. I mean, the funniest ones for me are the cats. Of course, I'm a cat person, so to watch the cats are absolutely hilarious, and to see the antics. I mean, there are some amazing cats. People have these amazing pet cats that I don't know how they get to do the things they do, because all I know is my cats love me because I feed them. And I offer a warm body at nighttime in bed, so they'll cuddle up and snuggle up when it's warm. But the rest of the time, I'm not allowed to cuddle or kiss or hold or hug. But
Sounds
anyway,
right.
yeah. Anyway, so I want to go back to, because we had such a great conversation, and we have been having such great conversations with you and your personal healing work, which again, I want to just say, had it not been for that, I doubt that you'd be doing such amazing work with the animals as well. So, I think it all goes hand in hand, and it's all part of your amazing purpose on this earth. But I'd like to go back to a couple of weeks back, actually. I know a week ago, you and Kerry had a great show together as well, Kerry Saint, which was really, really enjoyable. But I want to go back as well, maybe I know that you were telling us your personal story in terms of your family and all of that stuff that you were, your experiences in life, how you got out of that. I know that we spoke about your amazing husband, stuff like that. But I'm also interested to find out, I'm always interested in the family unit. When I look at your siblings, we heard about your sister, and sadly, that she's become a perpetrator herself over the years. What about your brothers? I think we spoke about you having two brothers, one or two brothers?
Three
Two.
brothers.
Three brothers. Okay. I'd be interested
Three.
to know, in that family, were all of you subjected to the same type of abuses? Because I know a lot of the times, especially when we're looking at the bloodline families, there'll be a couple that have that some of the kids have absolutely nothing going on, nothing happening to them. They're like the cover life kids. So they will be the exemplary kids, right? They do all that is wonderful and the good things and achieve and what have you. But then behind the scenes, you're going to get a lot of the siblings that are actually suffering and being tormented, etc. So when it comes to your brothers and stuff, how were they when it came to dealing and what they experienced and how you guys as a unit experienced that?
Well, my sister was born first, then me, then my first brother was born. And he, I think, he grew up to be a very, very very angry man. He used to sleep with a gun loaded at all times. He became, I think I was in high school when he exposed himself to some young children, and that sort of was, my memory of that was absolute beating him constantly.
Beating him? Did you say beating him?
Beating him, yeah, my father, and berating.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying correctly. So you're saying that your older brother grew up to be very angry, and when he was obviously maybe in high school sometime or a young man, he exposed himself like a flasher. Or are you talking about like a flasher? Okay.
Yes, like a flasher, but you got to understand, he's the eldest of my brothers, but he was born after I was.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And so what happened to him then? Are you saying your father beat him then? The beatings that ensued after that were brutal?
Oh, absolutely brutal. Like, he could not stand up. I mean, this was total, and being berated because he did and did, well, just like he exposed himself, but the mentality of my parents were to beat him, berate him, and they were doing far, far worse and break his spirit.
Sure. It's like, where would he, that type of behavior is learned behavior, right? You would have learned that behavior from someone. And of course, the first thing that comes to my mind there is that your parents didn't want him blowing their cover type thing, or embarrassing the family, because even though they were doing such disgusting things behind the scenes to their own children and their own family members, they couldn't have him literally exposing the family. Would that be correct?
Well, that is correct, but where he got that from was, we went to an uncle's place, my father's brother, one of his brothers, and there was other family members there, and this uncle came out to the pool area where we were all swimming, and he was drunk as, and basically zipped himself down and said, "Hey, look, here's the elephant's trunk." It came from these people.
Wow.
And this is high society people. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm angry.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
Of course it came from there. And the poor guy got beaten to a pulp by your parents.
And not only once. They didn't let it go. They never did.
How old was he? I mean, how old are we talking here when this happened?
He would have been about maybe almost 14. Yep, in his 13, 14 year, in that area. So it's old enough to be influenced by what's going on around him, and still young enough to not always comprehend what's going on around him.
Sure. Absolutely.
There's no excuses, none. Not even for my brother now. I know where he came from. I know what he went through. We all know what each other went through. And if we ever showed love or compassion to that one that was the one getting all of it, I don't know how to put this, the one they've been brutal with, then we'd get the same. I can remember, I think it was over this incident, my sister and I, first time in our lives, went and stood between him and my father. I made her do it with me because he was going to kill him that night. My mother wasn't home. She'd gone out to something. So we were the ones that had to stop it. And I couldn't do it on my own that time because I did it on my own so often. And I think that's why I seek someone on my side now, or someone to be with me and to not be on my own feeling, I guess. Yeah. That's just come to me. That makes me understand it. It really does. Because I couldn't do it then. And see, that brother also went on to be married, and he actually was accused of doing the same to his stepchildren, and it went through court and everything. And later on in life, some years ago, his wife was so drunk she didn't close the door properly and killed her small child who fell out of the car, nearly killed the second one that fell out. You know, it's all the choices we make too, Chantelle. There's no excuse.
Sure.
You know, the blood covenant, when you take a child's life, you've made that. You know, we grew up with so much religion in our lives, so many different. We learned. We've all had these choices. I suppose I am. So much didn't have to happen in life. But yeah, it does. And I know I've got to be realistic. And then I had another brother who was born, I can't remember how many years later, a few. But he was born with the cord around his neck. And he was a little bit, I'd say, I don't know what you call it, on the autistic scale. And he was we used to call him Horseman because he was over 7 foot. But he was gorgeous, and he used to get our children. He had 2 at the time, and I had 2. And he'd give them horsey rides because he's such a long man as well. They all sat on his back. Come on, Uncle Horse, come on, Uncle Horse. Don't go.
Dad used to do that with us. It used to back us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, he had his own turmoil during his life. He was very severely abused, very severely. And he's now dead. And we miss him very much. And one day I'll tell the story of that, but it's not ready. It's not time. It's not safe to right now. And then I had another brother born, and this was the last one they had. And I would have been 9. I think I'm standing next to the bassinet when he was born. But he cried a lot as a baby. And we used to spend after school time pushing the pram so that around this tracks in the bush, because we're on farms, so that Mum could go and do some work, because he used to get burst eardrums. Very sickly child. And we thought maybe because he was the golden child, being the last born, the baby, they'd left him alone. But they didn't. And he struggles with his life. He gets on with his life. He tries hard. He's got 2 beautiful girls. He's got a wife that supports him, who's really put her foot down and had to. And I can't say I ever really knew that one. I never did. Because when I left them all behind. And they were still young when I got out. But I couldn't take them, but I needed to save me. From there, I worked on doing it right for my family. I didn't always get it right. Believe me, I did not. I've made so many different mistakes, huge ones. But there is love in this family, and we do support each other, which is really, really special. Because that wasn't done. You see, if we got along with a sibling at any time over anything, the family, the parents, would then put a wedge between those siblings. And they deliberately and all collaborated to do it. Because, as they said, we are not to live in each other's pocket, and we are never to collaborate together. We had no rights.
Wow.
Well,
So they really
to be
understood what it. Sorry. So they really understood the importance of dividing and conquering. It's like you couldn't form strong bonds with each other. So the minute they saw bonds being formed, they would then come in and create division. How did they create this division amongst you? What was the tactics they used? I mean, I can imagine one of them would be that if you try and save your sibling, or you try and stop them from getting beaten or brutalized, and you try and then you yourself would become severely brutalized as well. I would imagine that would have been one of the tactics, because that is a tactic. I mean, was there any other way that they did that?
Okay. There was a time that my sister and I were getting along quite well, and a book came out. I think it was called To Elvis with Love, because my sister was totally all about Elvis. She loved everything Elvis. And he received or got this book. How, I don't know. But Mum was saying to him on the phone, because he used to go off and drive the trucks and be gone sometimes for days or weeks at a time. She was telling him on the phone, look, they're getting along really well. We've got to do something about this. And my sister and I said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let them. Yeah, well, we were wrong. He walked in with that book. I looked at my sister and said, look what I've got. Oh, she was over the moon. I mean, it was all about Elvis Presley. Me, I couldn't give a hoot. I didn't really, not even, I liked his songs, but I wasn't into him like she was. I like Shakin' Stevens better. Anyway.
Green Door. That song is called The Green Door. Interesting that. Interesting that. I'd be interested to know what that song actually means when you're looking back, because there's so many connotations to it. I remember Shakin' Stevens. I actually forgot about him until you mentioned him now. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. Anyway, she was like, as I said, over the moon, and it was for her, obviously. And then he said, it's for Joanne, not you. And you're not allowed to touch it. And Joanne, you have to read it. Now, not only did he totally. I mean, I don't know how to put that into words. Destroy her. I had to read something I'm not interested in and then share it and keep my sister away from that book. So not only is he punishing her, I was punished as well.
How old were you girls then?
Oh, gosh.
Approximately.
Maybe I was 12 and she would have been about nearly 14.
Yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy because still young enough not to be able to cognitively understand really how to deal with that kind of manipulation. You know, I mean, as an adult, you can say, you know what, he's really just doing this to put us against each other. So let's just not fall into that trap. But I mean, that kind of manipulative baiting, I mean, that's really baiting. God, that's awful.
That was it. That's what it was all the time. Like my sister couldn't cook rice because she'd faint. The smell made her faint. So if my sister did anything contradictive to what he wanted, she had to go and cook rice. And we were all there watching and she would faint. Then another thing, if I did something or either any of us girls did something, that sink would be filled up with absolute boiling hot water, and we had to, because they were standing behind us, wash dishes. They'd get everything out of the cupboard, every pot, every pan, and we had to wash those dishes in that water. I can still to this day put my hands under boiling water.
Good God.
Now, this might happen at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Didn't matter what time. Didn't matter what day. Then there was other time, I think I may have said it in my first time live, that we'd have to go out on the tractor and get left behind in this dark paddock, waiting for that tractor to come back. And it could take over an hour just to do one round of these paddocks because they're huge. Left totally in darkness in this paddock. Fear? It's not the word I used. And I still sleep with the light on, the night light. I can't handle the dark. That's my dogs playing in the background.
All good, all good, all good. Really, all good. Wow.
You know, that's a sort of what we experienced, and we're allowed to get up in the mornings. You know how, this is just classic. You get up in the morning. What's the first thing you got to do? That trip to the bathroom. It's normal. No. Because you get up, you make your bed, you clean the room and wait for it to be inspected. And then maybe, if there's nothing else you have to have done, you're allowed to go to that trip to the bathroom. But if you can't hold yourself, you get the beatings. That's normal morning routine. You do it like kids love watching Sesame Street and what was the other thing we were watching? Play School, when we were even younger and when my brothers were younger. Well, we would be locked outside while they sat there and watched them. We had no access to water, food, or a bathroom. We were not allowed to relieve ourselves till we were allowed back in that house. It was absolute nasty, spiteful abuse.
Totally sadistic. I mean, that is psychopath behavior.
It is.
I mean, seriously sadistic.
My father is a registered psychopath. So
okay,
my mother,
and
my mother, well, I think she was better at it than he was. I really, really believe that. I know that from my experience.
How were they towards each other?
Oh, always yelling, fighting, arguing, bickering, throwing digs at each other. But in front of others, it's like they were a beautiful, loving couple. He cheated all the time. There were other children born to him that were taken into hiding so that he couldn't find them. And many times we had, at one stage, when we were living in a country town called Meriden, people came to the door with a package that had booties in it and a congratulations card because he'd had a son.
So who are these women he was having babies out of wedlock with, and why were they taking them into hiding?
So that he could never get them or get to them.
Were they aware of what he was? Were they aware of what he was like, his behavior, his personality?
Yeah, once he reeled them in and they were willing and thinking he was wonderful, that's when he would change and turn it on them. And that's when they, this particular one, this day, no, he can never know this where this child is, because that one became very more aware.
How many other kids are we talking? How many other kids are we talking that he had?
About 4 to 5 children that I'm aware of. Any other than that, I don't know. But that's only while we were growing up. That's how we know about it.
So how would your mum feel about these kids? Did they come in and they live with you, or how were they?
No way. She would not have those bastards in her house. No. How would she react? She would throw like a small knife and get him. She would throw boiling water over him. The reaction was really violent, and he'd actually, in the end, leave. That's how bad it would get. He'd have to, for his own sake. They were as bad as worse as each other. Yeah, they were. They were worse.
Your parents are still alive?
No, my mother is dead. She died some years ago now. My father is still alive. Yes.
Then I'm gonna. How was, but at the time of your mum's death, were you able to, had you reconciled? Was there any apology? Was there any, peace?
Yes.
What was it like towards the end?
When she knew she was not long to go, not long on this earth, and she was losing her sight and everything, we did get back together, and we talked for a while, and over some weeks we did talk, and towards the end she got into an accident with boiling water on her face, and when that happened, she asked for me specifically. She wanted me to come and dress her face, spend time with her, and for her and I to connect. And I denied a lot about it, but then I went. I thought, no, I've got this right. I need my answers. because I've had children, I don't understand her. And it got down to, in the end, that she was wrong, yes, and so was he. She kept saying to me, but there was nothing she could do to stop him, because back then there wasn't help for women. And even her own mother said, grin and bear it, get back there. It was a different time, a different situations. And they were in this organisation she could not get out of, and at times didn't want to, and very, very much participating in it and its events and its cruelty and sadistic stuff. So in the end, she said to me, yeah, she was sorry, but she couldn't change any of it. But she's just realised, or now realising, that the only thing that was ever necessary was love. Nothing but love. And I said to her, you know, it's taken you 70-something years to work that out. And I said to her, we cried a lot. I yelled a bit. And I said to her before I left that day, I forgive you, because I need you to forgive you in my heart. Because if I don't, then, you know, I'm not going to be forgiven, because I'm not allowed to not forgive you. I've got to come back to love. And I said to her, I say to you now, go in love. And I felt it and I released it, and I'm actually feeling it now. I still have that love in my heart for my mother, and releasing, and she died 3 days later.
Did she ever realize the ramifications of her actions? I mean, did she ever realize what she did? You know, because I think some people, in my experience anyway, some people get to that realization if they've abused their kids or their spouses or something. They get to the point of realizing what they've done. There are those that just don't. It's like they shut down. They might see it as, oh, well, I was just disciplining you, or something like that, right? Did she ever realize the ramifications of her actions? Did she ever understand she was a psychopath? Did she ever understand that she was involved in this kind of stuff? Because if I'm not mistaken, you also said that that she used to do the Ouija board, right?
Yeah, not only that, no. She never ever came to a realization that she was responsible for her actions. And as you said, the ramifications down, no. It was, she went through the same sort of stuff, and it was horrible. It was terrible. This happened, that happened. But there's nothing a family member can do that you cannot forgive and go on. No, she never did come to that.
Okay.
I don't believe so, because she never took responsibility.
So she was still a victim. She's still,
Yes.
you know, that. And, you know, yes, I have no doubt that she was a victim as well to this horrific stuff when she was a child. No doubt, because that's, of course, the path, you know, and it's that ancestral bloodline, if you will, or ancestral path rather, that occurs. And, you know, the sins of the father bestowed upon the child. So unless somebody puts a stop to it, that toxicity just spews straight through the veins of the family. So no doubt she was a victim of her own circumstances, but had no idea how to stop that. And of course, married your dad, who was equally as bad. Sorry, yeah.
Can I stop you for a minute? Because my mother did a in-depth study on through the Bible, where it says that the sins of the father is not to go on to the children. She went right into, she was so far into the Bible, the scriptures, Salvation Army. She knew, she understood, she taught it. No, this is a very aware woman who knew she had that chance to take those sins of her own father and stop it. She is very aware at a very early age. She did all of this when she was around 24 years old because she always kept her study books. And we were allowed, as we were going and looking into the scriptures, we were allowed access to those books. And when I came across those, I questioned her at that time. And I was, we've been around when I was about 13, 14. I got so badly rebellious then because I was starting to understand so much more.
Right.
Yeah. So, no.
Was she always cognitive? Did she have blackouts? Did she have memory loss? So she remembered everything?
Everything in detail. Yes, and she was a good shot with knives. She never missed.
So she obviously had training with that.
Oh, yes, she did. She used to throw them at us. And she got us a few times. I've still got scars on my body where she got me.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was very aware. She was very, very well versed in the scriptures, in-depth study, and didn't like it when, but Mum, this is your words. These are your notes. Why is it you didn't stop it way back then? Why is it we have to go to holidays whether we want to or not? Knowing you're sending us back and that's what's happening. Well, that's when you get a punch and you're out like a light. You know, conversation over.
And your father, I mean, he's obviously, were they still married or did they get divorced? They were still married.
Yeah.
So what was their relationship like towards the end of her life then? Had they found peace? Were they still throwing hot water? It's interesting that she had boiling water on her face that she asked you to sort out, isn't it? Her burns from boiling water. I mean, I just find that very interesting.
No, their relationship was extremely hostile towards each other most of the time. I know they weren't sleeping in the same rooms. They really did not interact much at all. My mother used to say to me, well, now it's all about, you know, if he makes money, I get the money and that's my conversation. I can buy this or that or something else. There's Tony, he just walked past.
I saw him. So let's talk about Dad now. I mean, when you're looking at your father, I mean, where is he at? You say he's still alive. Where is he at? Has he come anywhere closer to realizing his mistakes? Has he sort of done any kind of reconciling as far as that's concerned? Or is he still adamant that he's right and everyone else is wrong?
He's right and everyone else is wrong. And now that he's on his own, he still lives on 50 acres in the Avon Valley. And that's part of the original acreage that was owned. And nobody goes and sees him much at all. I think a cousin or two that live in the area might every now and then. But apart from that, there is no contact from any. My sister does, though. She still does. But then she's now got power of attorney, and that's why she's doing it.
Sure.
I'm sorry, it is a bit shocking, but it's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just sad, actually. You know, it's just sad because usually when, I mean, I know my dad, obviously my family was anything like this, but You know, my dad, when it came to the last, let's say, especially the last decade of his life, I mean, he's always loved his family and always loved his kids, but he was a man's man, you know, he was a boy's boy and he was a party boy and everyone loved him and he loved everyone, you know. But at the end, he was so into my mother. Everything that he possibly knew he did wrong, he wanted to make right. When it came to his kids and his grandkids, I mean, it was we've always been, you know, he'd say to me, you know, you're my favorite, right? And I go, yeah, I know. And then, but he would tell all of us that.
Yeah, at least he was good. Yeah, all of you the same. Yeah, that's good.
And every single time anyone went to visit him, he'd tell us that, he'd tell whoever it was that that one was his favorite. So all of us, you know, knew we were his favorite. And I just think about that because you often hear stories where the older people, they sort of realize, you know, that where they went wrong, they want to make it right. They want to apologize. They want to, you know, and you often hear about that. So it just makes me wonder. That's what I'm just wondering, you know, because I know you guys went through a particularly brutal time with your parents, and not just you, but, you know, your siblings as well, and probably a lot more kids. Were you saying to me as well, and I can't remember, so correct me if I'm wrong, that they also used to have foster kids? Were they fostering kids?
Yes,
So they
but they'd
were
only
abusing
take girls. Yes, only girls. They wouldn't take in boys. No. Yep. They at one stage we on a farm we had, you know how you get the double bunk beds for children? Well, my father had welded and made a triple bunk beds, triple. So, and other beds on the other side of the room so all the girls could fit into the same room.
Were they all being abused?
Oh, yes, they were. Yes. And when they were questioned about it, when he was questioned about it, because other people would notice that one of my foster sisters would have all these hickeys on her. And there was all of us around, and my brothers were too young, and he was the only one. And he denied it. He always denied, because if you just keep denying, there's no evidence. And then it's, after a little while, my mother would just say, there's nothing he can do, you can't forgive, get on with it. And then it's just swept under the carpet. Oh, yeah, but he did. He abused all of them, girls and boys.
So I'm fine. So I guess, you know, that all of that, and I'm asking you all of these things because I think it makes it easier to forgive somebody when they've apologized or have shown remorse or something. It doesn't make it okay, but it makes it easier to find that peace, right? So when we're looking at I know we spoke about the trust, which is very difficult in the past show, where it's extremely difficult to have trust in life, in others, anyone really. Especially if your parents have proved themselves to be so untrustworthy, right? So to build that again, you know, to find the trust, to find that faith, you know, to see yourself as a human with rights, right? That sort of thing. So, I mean, what would you say for you has been the most crucial ingredient for that to happen in your life? I know you've had a great husband. I know your husband has been, and your kids obviously have been fantastic in terms of being there to help you find that trust again and to find that sense of faith, to rebuild your faith, and of course your beautiful animals. But I think animals and humans are very different, right? So what would for you be, other than that, important ingredients, if you will, that have made you not lose faith or trust or hope in humanity?
I think what really has helped, this may sound strange, it's not knowing until I knew that this life I lived and went through wasn't normal for everybody. It was only normal for some that are going through it. Because if that meant it doesn't happen to everybody, then it's not normal. And I think that gave me the courage to have a look at what really was normal, what wasn't, and living in this fake existence.
When did you realize that? When did you realize that's not? Because when you speak to a lot of overcomers, it's like a lot of them seem to think that everyone is going through this. This is just normal behavior that adults inflict upon their children. So when did you realize that this actually was not normal behavior?
The first time I realized it, this might be quite recent. Yeah, it would be. I was about maybe 11. Yep, we'll go there. I was still in the Salvation Army band, and I got to stay over at a friend's place, which was never done. I don't know. I don't recall at this moment how it worked, but they had to let me go and stay. And I stayed there that night at this other girl's place, and it was like a foreign, whole different world. It scared the bejeebers out of me. I actually laughed. I laughed out loud, and if I needed to go to the toilet, I was actually allowed to get up and go to the toilet. Then when I washed my hands, nobody ridiculed me for being clean. That's the first time I realised it. And the second time when it really impacted me was when I was 16. I was living in the town I'm in now, because we moved to this town as a family, and I was going off to a friend's house 2 doors down, because it was a birthday. I was allowed to go down there and walk on my own and go in there for 2 hours. And that freedom, as I was walking there, doing that for 2 hours, and as I started walking back, it dawned on me, oh my God, these people don't deserve any of us, and I've only been a slave, and I need to get out. There is something better, and not everybody's just like them. And I remember I had a red pair of jeans on with studs that did up on an angle. That's how it's imprinted in my brain, how far it's imprinted. And that's when I really started bucking the system. And I wanted my freedom.
Did they stop, I mean, around about the age of, let's say, 16, because I know you got married when you were 18. So when you had that realization and you rebelled against their abuse, did they stop? Then
no, they just drugged me. They just drugged me.
You. No, yes. Hang on. This is a whole new chapter now. They drugged you?
Yes, they had a mattress that used to sit in the laundry, between the laundry and toilet, and we'd wake up after being drugged, feeling like we had a grass seed inside of us. The pain was like a grass seed.
What were they doing to you when you were drugged? Abusing you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like we'd be bleeding and we'd have to be going and having. But see, the thing is, after the druggings, you had to beg to go and be allowed to have a bath or a shower. Yeah, the drugging part got us more when we were older, because we became, I fought, Chantelle, I fought for my whole body and life every single time. The last time I was abused was some weeks before my wedding.
The last time you were abused, repeat that?
Was only weeks before my wedding.
By your father?
Yep.
Was it just your mom and dad doing the abusings on you, or were there other family members as well?
There were all sorts of other family members and other people. Yeah. It was their norm until I realised it was only sadistic and I needed to get out. One day, I mean, maybe next time we talk, we'll talk about breaking free, trying to get out and take my sister. And that's going to be one hell of a experience for all to hear. But not today. But I mean, it was.
Yeah,
it was very hard.
I think that yeah. Well, I mean, I know we've kind of hit our hour, just over our hour now, so I'm going to call it a day for today. These conversations never get easier. They never get, but all I can hope and pray for is that every time you speak and you share your story, it lifts a little bit of something, a dark veil off you, from you, and that whoever listens to these interviews, connections, whoever listens can gain something from that, and in their own way start with their own healing journey, or continue with their own healing journey as well. I wish I was there to give you the biggest hug ever, but I think you must please go and get a hug from Sion.
Oh, yes.
I think he gives much bigger hugs than me. I definitely want one of those hugs. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna create a portal here. I'm working on making that portal. For sure. One day you're gonna see me crash leg, and I keep saying, make sure there's a glass furniture surroundings, please.
I will have all those chickens put their feathers out for you, love. There you go. That'll work.
You can get all the big boy kangaroos to hold out their arms and catch me.
Yes. That would work too.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Joanne, wow, what a story, man. Anyway, I'm just sending you so much love, and I know everyone in the chats is as well. And bit by bit, step by step, we're gonna walk each other home through these horrific stories. And I just hope that your story gives courage to those who are coming out of this, and to know that you guys have not been alone, and you're still not alone. And I just want to say there's a lot of, and I say this a lot, especially lately, there's a lot of amazing people in this world as well. As Joanne, you figured out, and it took you another 2 years to get out of that hellhole into a loving environment where you're able to do what you do. And I want to just say to you guys, never give up hope, ever. Stay in God's light and just allow the good to find you, because there's a lot of good in this world as well. It's not just full of hell and torture and damnation. I'm very grateful for you, and I hope that story for you is an example for others as well, to have forgiven your mom just before she passed. That's difficult. I don't know how. I mean, I get mad at my mother because she didn't give me enough attention. As a kid, I'm like mad because I didn't get all the proper attention, and I laugh at this. I do laugh now because I'm like, yeah. But I mean, it was like, wow. I mean, just, and I know I know Kerry has a story to tell about forgiveness as well. I know Caleb has had an incredible story to tell about forgiveness with his mom as well. These are the most important people who are here they're here to protect us and to hold us and to make sure, think about this as a baby. You're on your mother's womb for 9 months when there's no interference there. It's just you and mama there. And every cell in your body trusts this womb that you're in and this human bringing you life. And then the minute you're out there, you in hell, and she's perpetuating the hell in many instances. I think that in itself, let's take away everything else, but that in itself, psychologically and biologically, is such a bitter pill to swallow. I don't know that many people can do forgiveness after that. So for you people who have been able to forgive after that, kudos to you, because that is huge. And when I see how that has worked, and to your, the person you've become, the mother you've become, the wife you've become, the grandmother you've become, the animal lover you've become, that's beautiful for me. So, and Kerry, I know I want to say the same for you and for Caleb as well. I don't know if he's still in the chat. Those are just the ones I know that we talk to, because you guys have literally been to hell. And don't ever give up faith and hope to know that there are amazing people in this world as well, who want to help you, who want to take you through the healing process, who want to show you love, who want to care for you. We can all do this together, So, is there anything you want to end off with, beautiful lady?
Be kind to each other, and just love.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, we will see you back in 2 weeks' time. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I always love these conversations. As I say, they're never easy conversations to have, because no matter how long ago they happened, they're still very prevalent in somebody's life right now. And we're the ones that can change the lives of so many on this earth right now, just by sharing and caring and bringing awareness to these atrocities. So I wish you a beautiful weekend, introspective weekend, a healing weekend. I wish you everything that's wonderful in life, and God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves, guys. See you soon.